useful because we actually, uh, we are, we are all there in these kind of situations, writing exam, taking, we all, I mean, most of you might have conducted tests, right? You know how you would be conducting the test and types of tests, the types of tests we conduct, and then kinds of test items we conduct. So all these things are there in the last unit, last block, okay? And then issues in testing and what are the issues in conducting the test. All these are all there in the 20th in the last block of our course. But yeah, but because of the time constraint and we don't have much, many classes, right? We have only 18 classes, and that too, 50% of the time goes in, just exchanging pleasantries and then greetings and then so many other things. Like, so we can't help it, right? But otherwise, you are all good. You're all, you know, I'm confident on. I have a lot of confidence on you guys because you will do. You will definitely, do well in the examinations, I believe. Yeah, and so today actually we will discuss about 15th unit, that is classroom interaction. As we have in our previous class, we have discussed about this one, the features of the material, what are the instructional materials, what are the kinds of instructional materials, what are the, so we have like print media, non-print media, and Relaya is there, and computer assisted learning, language learning is there. Besides this, we have understood factors involved in designing and development of the materials. That also we have discussed, like what are the factors that that a designer and an educationist who actually designs the materials, you will keep in mind. Like you have some 8, criteria they keep in mind while designing the materials, designing and developing the materials, right? So we have understood these points in our yesterday's class, and then the features of the material also. Features of the material, we have another 8 of them are there. So like challenging level, cultural content, and authenticity, contemporaneity, and meaning focus, variety, reliance, all these things. And then all these things we have discussed. And then I asked you to go through the paragraphs which are, elaborate, details are been given in the page number 142 in my textbook. Maybe it's slightly different.
139, 140, ma'am.
Yes, yes. So that's how you just have to go to this one, the features of materials. And then coming to the classroom procedures. Now I have a PPT. Yeah, I have a PPT. Yeah, you can please go to the unit, all the participants, please.
Unit number 15, ma'am.
Yes, guys. Yeah, unit number 15, classroom interaction.
Page 152.
Yeah, please, can anyone, yeah, 150?
Two.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, as you all know that the classroom interaction, we all know, right, how many of you are teachers, and then if not, some of you are not teachers, probably doing some other jobs, but all of you are like parents, like you have children, then the children go to school, and then you must be taking the feedback from your children, how the class has been conducted, what's happening in the class, and then things like that. You must be getting some kind of feedback of their classes, or if you are a teacher, then you will know how the interaction happens in the classroom. All these things are there, right, guys? So we are practically living in this kind of situations. So in the classroom interaction, what is, and now it is, I'll just tell you that interaction, that the word itself, gives you the meaning that interaction is exchanging, right? Information or like, ideas, opinions, etc., etc. So today's world is primarily, primarily for communication. We need to communicate, whatever it is. Like if you want to sell your product, you need to communicate. You need to talk to the people, right? So to sell your business or to sell your product or whatever it is. Like if you are applying for a job, you go to an interview, you talk to them, you communicate what you are capable of, what you are, the skills are, what is your potentials are. Like basically it is all communication, right? So, so we need to be very good in communication. That's the first point. So language in today's world is primarily for communication, right? So, and then but the thing is that it is not only for the learners of the language, but it is also very important for the other for people around us. Like the technical fields also need to explain the processes and describe. So, for example, if an IT guy is there, he has developed a software. So he should be able to make the audience understand what is his product, what is his software, what is his software all about, how it works, and then things like that. So he has to, talk to a layperson, talk to a person who is unaware of this technology. Like, for example, a washing machine is there. The salesperson, he cannot actually, take all the terms and words, technical words, and tell a layperson, like anybody, like who wants to buy a washing machine. So they need to, so even in a technical field, needs to explain processes and describe products and document procedures in English, has emphasized the need for translating technical text into layperson's language. So this is one important. So this is how the introduction. I'm just talking about the introduction, how the classroom interaction would happen. So why do we need to, learn how to communicate or how to interact? What is the purpose of interaction? Teaching the students, involving them in an interactive session. The buzzword is now happening is communication. Like, communication is more important. The word has become a buzzword these days, like world around. So that's one thing, guys. So that's the reason why even whatever the student core subject might be, that he has to, whatever his ideas, the subject that he's doing research or whatever, then they need to, tell the other people, right? See, for example, if an engineering student is there, if he's, doing some research and then he has to, whatever his idea is there, he needs to tell his, supervisor, what is it? So he needs to explain in the words, like not only written text, written text, but it needs to be communicated orally, right? That's the reason why we need to, communication is very, very important. It is not enough for the professionals to read and write technical documents. They need to talk about their work and also simplify them for others at the user ends. So these are the things, international collaboration. And so international collaboration also necessitated a certain amount of social thought. So that's the reason why we need to be very, very communicative. If you are a good communicator, you can actually, there's some background noise coming. So guys, that is the one thing I think you are able to follow. So English for interpersonal communication is an emerging need. So these days, it's an interpersonal communication is very, very important these days. So what is happening in the schools? How are the schools, equipped to cater this kind of demand for the interpersonal communications among the students, among the learners, right? So what is basically the traditional classroom is basically, engendered a culture of silence, right? What is this engendered culture of silence? What do you mean by this? To make it happen, it's basically a silent class. So what will happen if I allow the students to talk among themselves or talk to each other? Then it will become a chaotic classroom. There will be a lot of noise in the classroom, which cannot be controlled by the teacher. So because the proportion of the student and the ratio of the student and the teacher is exorbitantly, like, different. I mean, what is that? I say very, very not reasonably proportionate, right? So that's the reason why it is engendered with silence, a culture of silence. Also, the transmission model of education with the teacher as a knowledge giver and the questioner in the classroom has not allowed to free expression in any class. So we don't give generally even this conventional method of education in our schools is that the teacher is the teacher gives is a knowledge giver, and then she would not allow allow for the free expression in any language. So what will happen in the transmission model? This is the transmission model. Transmission means the teacher is transmitting the knowledge to the students. So that's how they won't have any free expression, because once you allow them to speak, it will become a lot of chaos. It becomes uncontrollable classroom. So what will happen is that the students are passive receivers and perhaps expression. So the students are passive receivers, as we all understand, right? And then what happens is only, so when do they express? When do they express their, what they have understood is at the time of examination. So the way they answer, right? So even these answers are according to the expected conventions. So they are not given a free expression in the class, neither in the class nor at the examination, because even the exams are the examination point of view is expected with unexpected convictions are there. So that's how this has become really, a hindrance for the free expression, or the development of the communication is hindered in this kind of classroom atmosphere. So that's one thing. And then we have understood like where all we need, why do we need, and why do we need to, learn communication. And then again, how are the classrooms are conducted, right? And then, so what happens here is, all this has resulted in knowledge about the language not getting activated for the language use. It is in this context that the role of the teacher and the learners needs to be reviewed. So now you have understood. Now the thing is that, why do we need communication skills? The first point is because we need to promote ourselves. We need to actually, sell our business, right? Sell our business. So in order to sell our business, what do we need is that more communicative skills we need. And then in the to learn communication skills, the classrooms are not, fully equipped, nor like, provided with the resources wherein these communication skills are, developed. So that is another problem. And then we are learning. We are getting to know that. So what happens with that? What is the result of this kind of situation? All this has resulted in knowledge about language. So the students will definitely get knowledge about the knowledge about the language, but they don't get it activated for the language use. In this context, so because of this, we need to give thought about reviving the teachers and the learners' needs. So what is the learner's needs, and what is the role of the teacher that can cater to the learner's needs. So now coming to this one, we just have to proceed like the structuralist paradigm, focusing on accuracy for the accuracy of the form required only text-based practice, although it includes the audiolingual method although it included the audiolingual method where few institutions had to facilitate for technological support for pronunciation practice. Hence, work in the classroom was full classroom activity following the teacher's modeling of individual activities. So the structuralist paradigm, actually what is it focusing on? Accuracy. From the required accuracy form required only text-based practice. So structuralists are like, the structure of the language. So there's spelling errors in my the communicative here is like error is there. Let me check. So that's one thing, guys. And then again, moving on to so after the structured list, and then we come to another approach that is move to the functional and or communicative paradigm, began in the last 1980s in this country and began to make small inroads into the classroom, ushering in the relaxed language learning practices. This was possible in the schools where teachers were trained for the purpose and also proficient in English. Students in these schools had a good command, a language command, and were open to innovative methods. So now these are the two methods which are like, we have been always in my previous class also, I always told you to go back to the, the chapters that is approaches, right? So what are the what are the approaches that we actually structural method? Yeah. So the structural approach, the direct method, the structural approach, which is there in the page number 30 and 31 in my book, but maybe yours, maybe it is 29 or 28. So always you just have to be very thorough with the structural approaches. The approaches of the language. The reform method is there, the direct method, the structural approach, all these things. So audiolingual method is there, the structural oral situational method, functional notional method, communicative approach is there. So what is this one? We have understood the structural method, which actually gives the training in the grammar part mostly, and the functional, and then slowly, slightly, when in 1980s, the structural method, the structural approach has paved way to the, based on the, depending upon the, the demands, looking at the scenario of 1980s, the functional notion, the functional communicative approach was introduced, and it made inroads into the classroom. And then here, what was the result of this kind of functional and communicative approach? Implementing this kind of or practicing this kind of functional communicative approach. The students in the schools had a good language command and were open to innovative methods. So this is how it has developed. So, but what happens? The problem is like large majority of the classrooms now. So how this communicative, this functional communicative method is advisable to the students in the classrooms, but the constraint here is that majority of the classrooms, however, were untouched by the new trends. Both the teachers and the students feel comfortable in the teachers-dominated classroom, and the students' response is triggered by the teacher's initiation. So this has become no obvious change in the teaching practices is seen in other subjects classrooms. So this is the problem. So other subjects classrooms, the teacher is the center of the classroom, and then and when the teacher dominates the classroom, and this is how happens. Only the functional communicative approach is only practiced in the language classes. That is another drawback for practicing this kind of approach in all the in the schools. So that's the reason why many schools, very few students who very few schools who practice this functional communicative approach are there. From those schools, the students are very good at communication, but otherwise, many schools, because the proportion of the large majority of the classroom, that's the reason why this kind of the teachers put away from using this kind of functional communicative approach. So I think I'm clear with that. So coming to this one, so with respect to the language learning, however, taking in the classroom in English becomes necessary for the objective of the ability in the language. So what is it important is that, so ultimately we have we draw a conclusion that a language in language classrooms, the one and only objective of the English classroom is the ability to use the language in the real life situation. So we have come to a conclusion that it is very, very inevitable to teach the students the need for the communication. So now coming to the need for interaction, what is that? Vygotsky. It is pronounced as Vygotsky. I have checked the pronunciation, and then it's Vygotsky. Social interactionism, principles of learning. Interactionism, principles of learning, and Delhams views the communicative competence of to include communicative competence and interactionism, principles of learning. So these are the two. This one, he is actually, this guy is a Soviet psychologist. Actually, Vygotsky is a Soviet psychologist, and who actually advocated the interactionism, principles of learning, social interactionism, principles of learning. And Delhams views the communicative. Always. Yeah. So Delhams views of the communicative competence include social linguistic competence and are theoretical props for the necessity of the classroom interaction. And so these two people have different ideas according to them, but these principles can be fostered by only adapting task-based methods which involve interaction among the peers as well as the teachers. So whatever the philosophies of these two people, but ultimately it is these principles can be fostered, promoted only by adopting the task-based methodology which involves interaction among the peers as well as the teacher. So this is what is called. Delhams argued for appropriacy of the language use in the addition to the linguistic accuracy and the fluency. So they have the philosophy of how the language is to be taught, and then what should be the objectives of the learning process. So this is how, whatever it is, but it involves the interaction. Involves interaction among the peers as well as the teacher. So then only the objective of the student to acquire the proficiency in a language is achieved. And then classroom interaction techniques. Now moving on to that. Now what we have to understand is that classroom interaction techniques. Okay, so now I'll tell you guys, there are classroom interaction techniques are they have given a paragraph now is a small, factual information about the coral reef among the, this one text is given in our textbook about the coral reef. And then the students would read the paragraph, there are 4 paragraphs, and then the techniques, the tradition, what is the traditional way of teaching? This one is the traditional way of teaching. A story or an essay or even a poem in the class is for the teacher to read it out, preliminary comprehension questions and follow it up with the detailed explanation of the content and new vocabulary. So this is the traditional way. But now in order to achieve the objective of to meet the end result of communication skills, what we need to adapt is that the classroom can be divided into groups, and it's in detail given. The classroom can be divided into 4 groups, and each group can be asked to read this one paragraph. That's one way of asking the students to. And then each group has to summarize, has to give a subheading to the paragraph to summarize what the paragraph is all about. So in one of the paragraphs, it could be the definition of the what is a coral reef or the different types of whatever, like it is there. So, and then, in the second paragraph, it could be the illustrations or like where all the coral reefs are there, which areas are there. They're different paragraphs. So they have to summarize and what the paragraph is all about. That students, the active involvement of the students should be promoted, especially in this particular technique. And then another way, this is one way, and then another way is doing that. The teacher would have 4 slips of the, because there are 4 paragraphs in the textbook and in the text, and then this 4 paragraphs, she should write 4 slips on slips of paper with the subheading, and the groups are groups after reading pick up the slip with the subheading that suits the paragraph they have. Okay, so they have to pick up, and then this task is proper task. It could generate a lot of discussion among the members, explaining to each other what the paragraph is all about and why the paragraph is subheading would suit it. That's how, this is another way of the technique that can be used in a classroom in order to, involve the students actively in interaction. So these are the 2 things, 2 activities. But otherwise, the traditional way is how the teacher would explain, and then this is how this particular and then examples of interact. So this one is guys, I'll just tell you one important thing. This particular activity about the choral, if the text is given here, here the students would read. This is basically about the reading skill that is being promoted or prioritized, especially in this particular choral thing. And then now there is another example which is given in a textbook example of an interactive listening and speaking activities done in pairs. So there is a textbook, in your textbook, there is one task is there. There is one, the paragraph is there. And here also, what are the, the task features after the students, after the teacher adapted any one of these methods or techniques to be adapted in the class about this reading of the text, then what is the task features that are achieved are there in your textbook, guys. So what are the task features of this choral reading after reading this one, a choral brief paragraph? So we will just, please look into the textbook if you have. And then, so guys, the task features.
Page number 156, ma'am.
56, yes. Engagement with the new and authentic information, group interaction, reading for meaning or information processing, creating of choosing a suitable subject, sequencing the paragraphs, discussing the right order, individual reading of the whole text, integration of the skills, reading, listening, and speaking and writing. All these will be, achieved with these kind of techniques which are adopted by the teacher in the classroom. Now coming to the next one is examples of an interactive listening and speaking activity done in pairs. So this is again, you have in another page, the next page. So a blank map is been given, and then they put out the names of the places, and then they have to label it, group A and B, and then things like that. And the teacher moves around, helping students with the language elements or explaining procedures. So what are the task features that they have? What are the task features? What is actually, information gap between the 2 interlocutors, seeking and offering the clarifications, non-linguistic goals, use of the language to achieve non-linguistic goals, problem solving, and then participation by all the students. So these are the task features. These are to be achieved with this kind of activity. And then there is again one more task is also there. The writing example of the writing activity is also there, and the task features are also been given at the end of the lesson. Engagement with the authentic problem, urgency of communication, and an audience analysis, genre features, tone, politeness, and persuasion, discussion by group members, etc., and then feedback from the peers and the teachers are there. So these are the 3 activities which are given in the as examples, as illustrations to be, highlighted and highlighted so that the teacher can actually, practice this kind of, utilize this kind of, take the help of these exercises and then use in their classroom situations. That's one thing. So this is how we can actually, improve the communication skills of the learners in the classroom. So, and then coming to the conclusion of this one, this connects with the task-based methodology. Participatory modes of instruction, language development is not textual but interactional. And so what is it? The language development is not textual but interactional. We understand this one, right? We don't, we basically understand by purely, the teacher-dominated classes, only exploiting the textbook without venturing out different, techniques, or without using any kind of, strategies, that the student would actually understand, know the language, but knowing the language may not be like achieved. That's one thing I wanted to make it. So the textbook is, language development is not textual, but interactional. So, and the text may act as a stimuli and pose a problem. The resolution of the problems is through peer negotiation, and the task to goals becomes the focal point around which the interaction revolves. So whenever you are giving an activity to the children, in groups or in pairs, like, they would be in pairs or in groups, what do you say, like motivating the children, or encouraging them to have a pair negotiations and all that, then automatically, the interaction revolves around some focal point, and then the real communication skills would be enhanced or developed. That can be achieved through this kind of activities in the classroom. And processing of information demands language generation. Processing of information demands language generation. This mode ensures cognitive engagement, interpersonal communication, and peer feedback with the teacher feedback on performance of the task. So these three are to be integrated actually. So what is that? Interpersonal communication, cognitive engagement. So all this will help, to really, to be successful, to be able to, achieve the communicative skills in the real life situations. So this is all about how a classroom interaction can happen. Guys, that is one thing. And then moving on to the 16th unit, so what we have is the learning centered classroom. The learning centered classroom. What is this one? The learning centered classroom. So we
160.
Yeah, unit 16. Yeah, right. So what is this one? Generally, when you see that there is the conventional image of the classroom is one with a teacher in the center position, flanked by a table, a chair, and a blackboard with all the students facing him or her, and perhaps with a ruler in the hand, right? So this is how a classroom, conventional image of a classroom. Whenever we, take the word classroom, it is the image that we actually, visualize in our mind. A teacher with a, very studious kind of a teacher, very strict with a stick in his hand. Okay, either to tap it, and the ruler could be used as a pointer to make to the matter on the board, or could be used for tapping on the table to call the class in order, or as a symbol of authority. So the ruler could be used and any in these aspects, right? So that's how it is. And with the democratic traditions everywhere, like, all walks of life, augmented source of information through media. Now, there has been a gradual transformation in the central role played by the teacher as a knowledge giver. Notice that the teacher still plays a central role in the learning process, but not at the center of the classroom. Okay, so now, what is that? The aim of the language instruction is to develop the learners the underlying core competence, which can then support various applications demanded in life. So what is that? Whatever it is, the main objective of our language class is that the language instruction is to develop the learner's underlying core competence, which can then support various applications demanded in life. So that is one first and the foremost use of the, I mean, the objective. That is the first and the foremost objective of the classroom, language classroom. What is the objective? What is that? Whatever, we have to tap the underlying competence of the students. So the classroom should be, I mean, as a stimuli, should help the student. And then use the language in the various applications, which the life demands in the real life, right? So that's how this is that should be the objective of learning. So now, participatory mode of instruction, the focus was on the learner and the individualization. What is that? I just wanted to make one phrase here, learner autonomy. So guys, do any one of you have an idea about what is this, learner autonomy? So, yeah, can anyone of you respond to my this thing? Anyone knows about this learner autonomy? It's nothing but actually, okay. So the focus from teaching to learning. Learner's autonomy is, so learner's autonomy, yes? Yeah, who's that? It means that the students act independently and take the responsibility for their own learning. So that is called learner's autonomy. So language teaching is now viewed as the development of learner's autonomy. Not all of any language can be taught in the classroom. The aim of the language instruction is to develop in the learner the underlying core competence, which can then support various applications demanded in the life. So what is that? This will be like a tool which they can use it for different purposes in their life. So the language, the structure, whatever the language that the curriculum that we introduce in the schools, that would be a tool, that would be a means of understanding how the language is exploited in the real life situation. That is one first thing. So this is what is there in this first paragraph, guys. That is called learners. So what is that learner's autonomy? Is that it means the students act independently and take the responsibility for their own learning. So they need to understand basic information is being given in the classroom, and then they have to move forward to learn independently, take the responsibility of their own learning. Like that's how it is just a you are showing a path, and then they have to explore the different ways, different they have to overcome the hurdles that come in their path. So that's how they have to should be capable of. They have to be equip themselves with this kind of skill. So that's one thing. And then participation mode of instruction, the focus was on the learners and the individualization and the learning process. So individualization, group activities promoting collaborative and cooperative learning were devised. So in this one, learning centered classroom, what is that learning? We have to do these activities, participatory mode of instruction. So we need to, encourage them, motivate them, or, promote them to involve themselves. What is that? What is the appropriate word here is like, encourage them. Like mostly we have to push them to a participatory mode of instruction. Participate in different activities, and focus was like debates, like, involving themselves in the debate, and then give a, what is that, a speech maybe. That's how we can actually, help the students to participate and then learn. And the individual, so group activities promoting collaborative and cooperative learnings learning were devised. So these things can be adapted in a classroom. Yeah. Language learning is now viewed, yeah, language learning is now viewed not just as a development of linguistic competence. Guys, we will just understand. So what is that? We are talking about learning centered classroom. What is happening in a classroom? So what is that we need to develop? What is that we need to develop of a student? What he needs to be, acquiring from assigning in a class, whatever, why did he enroll? What is his, needs? So language learning is now viewed just not as a development of the linguistic competence with focus on accuracy, contextual and ideation function of the language, but as a socio-linguistic competence with equal emphasis on fluency and appropriacy and the interpersonal functions of the language. So these are the three aspects. What are these three aspects? Are like linguistic competence, socio-linguistic competence, and interpersonal functions. These are the three dimensions. These are the three dimensions which are actually, realized after a course. After the course is finished, especially an English course. I mean, the one who is learning English. So proficiency attainment in the language is balanced development of all these three dimensions, which would involve the integration of the core skills along with the grammar and vocabulary. So you understand, guys, this is what is called learning language is not viewed just as a linguistic competence. It is not about the linguistic competence, but it is also proficiency means all these three are to be mastered by the learner. So this is one thing. The three-dimensional development to happen, language has to be practiced not as an objective, discrete construction in the class, but activated as a syncretic organic phenomena for authentic purposes. So So these three dimensions, in order to, these are the three. A person, if a person is called a proficient speaker of a language, that means these three dimensions are to be exploited by him, and then he should be able to use the language in all these three contexts. So then in order to achieve this three-dimensional development to happen, language has to be practiced not as an objective. It's objective. Objectives are what? Like, for every class, there is an objective. That is for every level of the class, there is an objective. But it should not be practiced not as an objective, but discrete construction in the classroom or discrete construction in the classroom, but activated as a, what is this? Syncretic. Syncretic. I think I have got the spelling meaning for this one. Anyone knows about the syncretic? What is this word? Syncretic? Oh, I didn't check, I think. Yeah. Syncretic organic phenomena for authentic purposes. So we need to be able to, have this authentic purposes. What do you mean by this authentic purposes? It means in the real life situations, wherever, life is dynamic. We don't have, life is always dynamic. You don't know in which situation you would be. You should be able to, be able to emerge successfully communicating in that kind of situation. So that is how this, the exploration of these three phenomena would make you proficient in a language. So that's how it is, guys. In the process of communicative approach and the task-based language learning happened, demanded active learners' participation in that. So in this process, the communicative approach and the task-based learning have demanded active learners' participation in the learning process. So that's the reason why, in order to, accomplish the task of being, proficient speaker of the language, we need to actually, promote the active involvement of the learner in participating in the learning process. So in the classroom, in the language classroom, the purely linguistic focus of the instructional methods, materials and methods have moved to real life task focus. So that's how. So as change is inevitable from a traditional and then a traditional teacher, a model of a teacher, it's been evolving into a different, different, what do you say, different places or different, what do you say, guys? Like, the traditional model of the teacher is changing according to the demands of the students, according to the demands of the learners. So that the traditional teacher has been changing to different ways, in different ways. That's how this one. So now, learning-centered classroom. What we have to do in the learning-centered classroom? That is, and then so what do we do in order to achieve that objective? Like, in order to give the students their, competitive, explore their, be successful to become a proficient speaker of the language. So what are the things that we can do? Equip learners with the strategies to learn on their own, create opportunities for the learners to manipulate and negotiate language for performance of the meaningful task, use of the verbal protocol analysis as a tool to think aloud about their learning processes, metacognitive strategies to monitor their own learning. These are the things that we can do learning-centered classroom. So whenever, when we are trying to, give them the full potential to become a communicator or a proficient speaker of a language, these are the things that we can actually, focus on giving the students, equipping them with all these kind of strategies so that they can actually become a proficient speaker. This makes them improve their learning as they use the language rather than postponing use to use after the language is adequately learned. So I think, guys, this one particular point will make it very clear that why are we, giving more importance for this task-based activities in the classroom, so that why we are giving the importance to the task-based activities in the classroom, because the students may not be the students can be able to use the language when they are learning itself. So it is not that they can use the language after they learned it adequately. So that because of that, we are actually giving them a lot of importance for this task-based activities in the classroom. So what are the points to remember here is that networked computer environment has increased the potential for the independent learning, self-access to the technology-based learning resources have made possible exposure to the live natural speech. Many teachers use blogs, Facebooks, and other social networking tools to promote authentic communication with an experimental basis, and varied modes of writing and interaction with the varied speakers, writers, often across countries, help members to pick up contemporary speakers. So these are also facilitating a learner who is, very keen on learning language, and then very keen on using that language in his real life situations. These are the platforms which are helping them to learn on their own. That means it is learner autonomy. So that means the learner will be independently learning, moving forward and taking the responsibility of himself to learn things. So this is how these are the platforms, or these are the things that are facilitating the learners to learn the language. And then learners' participation. What is that? Conscious strategist training makes learners become less self-conscious as learners push themselves in the actual language. So learners' participation. So we need to give them conscious strategies where they can actually, in their real life, they can use the language less self-consciously. So one who is like, less self-consciously means that means he would extempore, like, he would be very, without fumbling, without, pausing in between, without shifting to any other language, any other language in the sense, comfort language. A person, a learner can consistently speak in a particular language because that can be possible only when, when through the learning process, he has to be given conscious strategies where he is being trained. Okay, a conscious strategy training has to be given to a particular person. That's how we can actually, help a learner to accomplish his task of learning communication. So the teacher's role. Now the teacher's role is that what is the teacher's role in what is the teacher's role? Assessing needs and setting goals, planning and organizing, and then selecting, adapting materials and devising text, managing, monitoring, and decision making, providing feedbacks and decision making, confirming and consolidating language gain. So this is how the teacher actually plays her part of the role in accomplishing the task of becoming a learner, becoming a complete user of the language in all the aspects. Like, what are the three aspects that we have discussed are, accomplish the linguistic competence, social linguistic competence, and the interpersonal functions. So in order to be efficient and then proficient in all these three perspectives, or in these three dimensions, this is the teacher's role that helps the learner to successfully emerge out of those situations in the real life situations, communicating appropriately with fluency, and then with proper pronunciation. All these things can be practiced. So guys, that is all about, you have a lot more to study. You have what I have given you are just a few things, whatever I could comprehend from the materials that the university has provided us. So guys, I think you just have to do a lot of work, and then it will help you guys. I'm telling you, I promise that it will definitely help. So if you read, line by Divakar sir, how are you, sir? Nice to see your picture. Yeah? You're looking very smart in this one. So are you there, sir? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. I'm here, ma'am.
Nice to hear your voice, sir.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Yeah. So,
yeah, ma'am.
So, sir, I think I am intelligible to all of you.
Yes, ma'am. Very audible and very clear and very concept-wise, and content is very good, ma'am, actually.
Yeah.
The content we have understood a lot.
Yeah, I was like literally demotivated from taking this online classes because I don't know, I have some block in my mind. So I actually rejected Madhuri madam that I won't be able to take online classes, but she actually was one who encouraged me to go about, and then I can see a change in my, teaching. I can assess myself because I can see a change of my method from the first class to the 8th class. Right? I did take one class actually. So yeah, really, she's Madhuri madam is like, she's a very good support actually.
Madam is always supportive and encouraging me.
Yes.
Madhuri ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Daksha ma'am, Vijay Lakshmi ma'am.
Yes. Thank you very much. Ma'am, this is what it happened for us also when we were supposed to take online.
Yes, ma'am.
In the beginning, we were also reluctant, but later on, when we learned, we enjoyed, ma'am.
Yes.
Present and everything. So this change has to be brought, ma'am, because we don't know what is stored for us tomorrow.
Yes, exactly, ma'am. Exactly. Like that's how, life is always dynamic, right? Whatever. I mean, we don't know. We cannot anticipate what comes our way. So we should prepare ourselves to face any kind of challenges in this life, right?
That is so very true, ma'am. Very true.
Yeah. This is so wonderful, guys. I am so honored to teach you all, guys. And then I want all of you to prosper in your life. And then remember me. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Always,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you so
Always.
much. Ma'am, just now you taught the role of teacher is changing. So
Yes.
here also there is lot of things.
Yes. Yeah. So guys, actually I thought of giving you, what is that? The question paper. I'm so sorry because I couldn't download it properly. I didn't know that how to, I downloaded it because, but I don't know what went wrong, but it did not, it has, it is all encoded. So probably, I think I can post it in the group. Yeah. So guys, thank you and have a
Ma'am,
nice.
if you don't mind that, what are the slides we have seen now?
Yes.
They're very good and they're nice, ma'am. If you could share that, and we have a good subject of some sort.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What I'll
Yeah.
do is I'll just figure out, because my son actually knows how to do all that, because I
Yeah,
am tech savvy, so I have no idea how to do that one. But I'll take my son's help and then try to post it in the group.
Sure, ma'am. Sure,
Ma'am, do that, ma'am. Those sheets, no, ma'am.
Yes.
You do that, ma'am.
Yes.
What are
Yes.
they called, Diwakar? Apart from the word,
Yeah.
the click, this one, the slides, no. These are all
Yes.
slides.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
The PPTs, no, ma'am. PPTs.
PPT, correct.
Yeah, ma'am.
PPT
I'll
slide.
show that.
So, PPT slide. So you take your son's help, ma'am, and post it in our group.
Yes,
Please.
ma'am. Sure. Definitely, ma'am. Definitely. I'll do that. I'll do that. So guys, have a nice evening and then see you all. All the
Thank
best.
you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
ma'am.
Bye-bye. Yes.
Bye, ma'am. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Bye-bye.